Hey, it's Kara. Today I'm having a real talk with DIANE GUERRERO, who you know from Orange is the New Black, Jane the Virgin, Doom Patrol, which is now on HBO Max, and her community activism. DIANE also has a huge personal story that you won't believe. Get ready. There are a lot of people who haven't heard everything you've gone through, and it's like, I don't think anybody would know that about you. Like, if they just see you on, or if they saw you on Orange is the New Black, or they see you on Jane or whatever. How do you feel about like telling all your things over and over again?
You know, I've gone through like this huge I've gone through sort of all of the emotions about my story, and I think that deciding to share it was one of the best things that I ever did for myself and for my family and for my community. And so, and especially now as I've grown, and as I've learned through sharing this process. I mean, you would have asked me like a year ago, and I would have said, oh, it's kind of traumatic just sort of living that over and over again. But I don't think I would say that now. I think I'm very proud of who I am and proud of that story. And I know that story shares many commonalities with a lot of people out there. And so I feel good about sharing it, especially if it motivates others to use their voice in the same way that I have. I know that it's provided a lot of healing for me, and has allowed me to think about myself as it relates to others a lot better. And so I don't have a problem talking about it.
And I also want to talk to you about what you've been doing lately with Black
Hmm.
Lives Matter too, because I think
Yeah.
it's amazing. I've been following you on Instagram. I know you're on Twitter too, but it seems like Instagram is much more of your thing.
Yeah, it's much more my thing. I think that when social media, first blew up, and then people sort of writing their comments and how they really felt on Twitter, I don't think I was there yet, to be that open in that way. And so when Instagram came around, I I was like fine sharing photos, and then I saw the power of it, using it as a platform for social justice and to talk about things that I really cared about, and to lift the voices of those who I found to be very helpful to any conversation that was going on. So I like IG a lot better. I mean, I have most people follow me there, so I use it.
Yeah, so you can do both on Instagram as well. Like I feel like Twitter is like, I know Twitter can be, I like Instagram
Twitter's for
better
like a
too.
very specific person, a person who's like has like ill wit, and who can like, sum up their feelings in like, a specific number of characters. And I sometimes have way too much to say, or just yeah, I don't like Twitter as much. But now with Instagram, you can post something, and then it posts something on Twitter immediately. So like
That's
the same
right.
thing gets related.
But it is totally different. I feel like I like the pictures too, and it feels friendlier on Instagram to me. You know what I mean? And it's
Yeah.
like, it's a
Oh my
really
gosh.
pleasant
Yeah.
thing. I always say that
Yeah.
Twitter feels to me like it's really good for people who are super funny or people who are really political, because I think that's
Yeah.
really the platform for that. But you're doing both on Instagram. So, you're
Yeah.
doing
Or people who can type really fast.
the
Like I'm not a fast typer, so like I cannot. Oh my gosh, sometimes I'll like spend an hour writing someone back, like even on like an IG comment, and I'm like, why am I wasting my life? Like I wish I could just send them a voice note or whatever of what I think, because I'm just not a fast typer. So I just can't keep up. And the Twitter messages keep going and going and going. And so I'm just like, oh yeah, I can't.
yeah, no
I
good.
like retweeting. I like supporting my friends through it, and I like relaying whatever message I have on Instagram through there, because I think it is a big platform
Right.
for conversations, political conversations, and for just kind of like shady tweets. I mean, we all know a lot of people use it for the shade.
It's true, I think.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's back up a little bit. Like, I don't, again, like I said, I don't want you to have to feel like you have to give the whole history, but you
Yeah.
basically were in the US and your parents were undocumented.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
then, so it was like a secret. You kept it a secret for a long time.
Yeah.
And then they were discovered, I guess, right? Is that?
Yeah. So I like basically I lived I was born here. I was born in Jersey. In Passaic, New Jersey. We were there till we were 3. My parents emigrated in the 80s. My aunt was already living in New Jersey. I had an uncle in New York. So we already had family emigrating, and my family came here, for a lot of the same reasons that other families come here for better job opportunities, just uh, to live, whatever they thought the American dream was, right? And so I was born, and was raised in Boston. And I talk about in my book how, I mean, my entire childhood was focused on my parents getting legal status and it sort of failing on them every single time they tried. And so I remember going to lawyers' offices with my folks. I remember being scared of people knocking on the door. I remember having to um, understand, I guess, the difference between like the truth and um, like lying, like bad lying, and then lying to protect your family. And that was very, very confusing for me growing up. And it put a lot of stress. So I grew up with a lot of anxiety because, ultimately what my family being discovered as undocumented meant that my family would be separated and that I would be left alone and that would be the end of my family. And so that was something that I always feared, and was such a fucking pain in the ass. And so, yeah, so my nightmare sort of came true when I was 14, um, when both parents were taken away. I got home from school and they were gone, and that was sort of to be expected. My parents always prepared me for the worst, or the sort of inevitable. I mean, we'd hope that it wouldn't happen, but um, because of the immigration policies and because of the immigration system in our country, it was just um, not possible for us. And so my parents they were deported to Colombia. So I had to experience the carceral system, going to visit them at the detention center. I mean, all that was super traumatic for me and for them. And so that really that stayed in me. And I think that, um, over the years, any rhetoric that I heard about the immigrant community or people who were deported was very negative. So it wasn't something that I was very open to talking about because I didn't want to bring shame on myself. I was very ashamed. I was ashamed of my family because that's exactly what they sort of, the propaganda that is out there is to be ashamed in this way. And so I never talked about it. I wanted to stay in the country. I didn't go back with my family. We had no money. We had no assets. It was really hard when you go. I had grown up here all my life, so going to Colombia just seemed kind of out of the question for me, especially because my family didn't have the means. And I was attending a pilot school. Public education was available. In order to go to a private school or a ESL school in Colombia, you need a lot of money. And we didn't have that. So I was like, okay, I'm going to stay here and I'm going to figure out what I'm going to do. I had a very strong and beautiful community that took me in. I had friends, family friends that took me in. And so I spent my freshman year and sophomore year of high school with one of my friends and her family. And then I went over to a different family for my junior and senior year. And then I worked throughout that entire time. I mean, when I started working when I was 14, I was working at this like fashion warehouse for women that would allow me to work there on weekends. And then
Doing
as I
what?
got
What were you
older,
doing? What were you doing
folding,
there?
folding scarves and
Okay.
hiding in the clothes because I fucking didn't want to deal with anyone. I would like I'd work the cash register. I would put clothes away. It was just, I mean, imagine a big warehouse of just like discount clothing, and just tons of shoes and clothes and scarves and coats, things like that. So I would go and like organize sizes and fold scarves and things like that. And then as I got older, I got jobs at, I was working at Barnes and Noble cafe. I was working at the bookshop. I worked at a place called iParty, which is exactly like Party City. So it's like a party store. So I made balloons and played with toys all day. But
how were you feeling at that point though? Like, I knew you said it was traumatic, but I have to back up also, if you don't mind. Like, I feel like
go ahead.
just the
Cut me off.
whole,
I just go on and on.
oh, and I'll cut you off, don't worry. But I'd like you to go on and on because I appreciate you sharing it like that. And I said, I don't want you to have to tell your whole story. It's obviously not your whole story. It's just part of the story. And it's not just one, it's not the story in your life. Like, there are many stories.
Right.
You know, it's sometimes when people say, oh, everybody has a story, but I'm like, that's not real. I don't really feel like it's a story. Like, you know what I mean?
No,
it's a million stories.
We are multitudes.
Yeah.
Right? We have so many different stories. That was just like what I did to survive at that time when my parents weren't physically there with me. And so even though I was living with these people, I knew that I had to work. And that's something that my family really instilled in me, that work ethic. If you wanted anything in life, it wasn't going to be handed to you. You had to work, and you had to be happy with the work that you had. But I mean, I guess what I mean by that is my dad was never bitter in the work that he did, even though it was grueling and it was, sometimes the environment was violent or degrading, and he still was very glad that he had the opportunity to work and feed his family, and I took that, and I knew that I had the opportunity. I knew I had the language. I knew I had the opportunity to at least try and make something better for myself and at least survive, and eventually the dream was to help my family out.
Where were you when you landed Orange Is the New Black?
Where was I in my process?
In life, kind of.
Oh my gosh. I was very afraid of everything.
Wait, hold on. I'm not getting that from you at all. When did that start? Really? Okay, explain.
I mean, there was still, I don't know how I've been able to balance sort of this deep need to be involved and deep need to participate and find out if I could be good at something, and then balance all of my insecurities and sometimes crippling anxiety. I don't know how those two came together, but that's kind of how I have operated my entire life. Being scared shitless and going for it anyway.
So interesting. So, right. That's really probably not that common. So
No. Yeah, I mean, it was also probably, I mean, it was very exhilarating as well, because I just wanted it so bad. You know what it comes down to? I really wanted to be seen. And I don't know if then I felt the same way, like, or if I understood the definition of being seen as I see it now, but maybe subconsciously, I just wanted to be seen. I just wanted to be heard. I wanted to participate. I wanted to I wanted to play. I wanted to have that opportunity too. And that feeling was so strong that I think it just kind of trumped over the fear. But and that, it worked for some time. It doesn't work for me now. It doesn't work to be operating from a place of fear now. Knowing everything that I know, knowing that I am enough, knowing that I am that I belong. All of these things that I've learned along the way, like, I couldn't be fearful now. Even though I still am, and I still struggle with anxiety and insecurities about, how yeah, I struggle with insecurities and whether I'm enough or not, or smart enough, or, you know, all of those feelings that you have. But it really did push me to do that because the feelings were so strong of like maybe it was fear of missing out. I didn't want to leave and leave it there just like that. I had to go through it and feel that pain. Uh, and what I saw is that every time I did push myself to do something, something good would happen out of it. It was never, every time I gave myself that opportunity, something happened, something changed. Maybe it didn't get me there, but it got me closer to something. And it was just building up my heart. It was building up my skin, my tolerance for any challenge that came my way.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So what was it, therapy that did it? Or writing the book?
Therapy? Oh my gosh. What did what?
That helped you not work from a place of fear like it used to, and to manage the anxiety.
Yeah, it was definitely sharing my story and sharing this book. Absolutely. Because so when I was at this place of fear, and even still I got Orange Is the New Black, that happened for me. And I could not believe it. I'm telling you, I mean, even though I was kind of like, I'm just going to keep on trying and see what happens. You know, I think that at the time that I auditioned for that, I was like, fuck, if I don't get this, if I don't get this, then where am I? What is this? What is happening? Because I just felt I was so right for it.
Okay. So that would make it even more stressful then. I mean, the fact that you're putting
I had
so
to be
much.
right for it. Are you kidding me? You're talking about a woman in prison, and we're talking about a Latinx woman who because of her childhood trauma, she is in prison. You know, that is something that I had lived with all of my life. That's what I saw in my neighborhoods. I saw people getting arrested. I saw families being separated because of incarceration. I mean, this is something that I really knew a lot about. And so once I did get it, then I saw all of the things that I really had to work on. And I saw that I had to do a lot of work, not just in acting or as an actor. Obviously that goes without saying. I mean, you get a job, you are working with incredibly seasoned actors. You got to step up your game. You have to learn from them, and all of that I was getting. But I also learned that I had to do some deep work within myself to stay in this game, or else I was going to either that was going to be my last job. I wasn't going to be able to sustain work in this field, or I was going to drive myself mad, really, because I wasn't settled in my heart. So being on set of Orange Is the New Black was very exciting, and it was very beautiful, but it was also very taxing because I didn't have those tools. You know, I hadn't done that work for myself, and I wasn't operating from a place of truth. You see, I wasn't telling anybody who I really was. I remember somebody asking me, you know, where are your parents? What do they do? And I was like, you know, as I normally did in college or in high school, my parents moved back to Colombia because they're small business owners, and they just didn't want to live here anymore. And I caught myself saying that, and it hurt me so much. And it just started that kind of behavior, that kind of avoidance for me was really chipping away at something much deeper than just my ego. And so I had to do some work. And it just so happened that the movement was there. People were already doing that work on the ground for immigrant rights, for doing that community building that was needed for our people. And so right around that time, when who was it? 45 was campaigning, so that for that 2016 election, I already started seeing a lot of that negative rhetoric, even more so about the immigrant community, which I was very much a part of. And so it was kind of like I started twitching and I couldn't hold it in anymore. You know, I could no longer say or think that what was happening in the world or what was happening in this country didn't affect me. And so it was kind of like word vomit. I kind of just started saying my parents were deported. This is my life. This is who I am. And then of course, you know, said in the right platform, it kind of just took off, and I was sort of forced to do that work. But I did that work along with you. I wasn't like, it wasn't like I came out and shared once I already had done, you know, all this deep introspection or this deep work for myself. I like literally grew in front of people's eyes, in front of these reporters' eyes, in front of on television. I was growing right in front of you, and that was a traumatic experience, but something that I really needed to go through.
That is so interesting. So it was like what was happening outside was what pushed you to have to deal with it and go from living in a place that wasn't truthful. So it's interesting. Right. And then,
well, because I was like, I thought that I would be seen once I became an actor. And once I got like a big show or a big movie, I was like, then I'll be seen. And then once I did get that, I still didn't feel seen. And then I realized it was because I needed to be honest. If I was going to be here representing myself, representing my family, representing my community, I had to be honest and I had to be truthful. And that truth is ugly. It's messy. Some people ain't going to like it. It's offensive to some folks. Oh, it's too sad for some folks. Oh, people don't want to hear you pull the race card. Lots of shit comes up from it. And so, but that's what the truth is. It's messy. It's complicated. It's tragic. It's sad. But it also has the power to help others and to heal others and heal yourself.
So interestingly, so as you said that it was kind of like you were growing up or growing and getting to that place in front of all the reporters and whatever in the media. So like, and that was traumatic. So like what happened exactly that was traumatic in doing that?
Everything being presented as the girl whose parents were deported. It was like, I no longer had a name, you know, it was like, this is the, you know, I felt like I was on a milk carton. Because with that comes with that, you know, when you're honest in that way, and especially if people are not well versed on some of the issues, and especially if people are not empathetic to you and your experience, then there's going to be a lot of room to, you know, misconstrue your words, to kind of sum up your life experience in a sentence.
Right. So it wasn't necessarily that they were mean, but it's that those things were hard to be exposed to.
There was a range of things. People were nasty. People were mean. People said, go back to your country. Yeah. People said, go back to your country. People said, well, what are you complaining about? You're an actress. What do you care? What do you, you know, like, as if I can't have feelings because I have achieved something. It was like, we let you become an actor in this country and we let you live out this dream. So how bad can this system be, or how sad could you possibly be? Your parents broke the law, and that's that. And so because I hadn't done that emotional work that I needed to do, I wasn't prepared to handle really anything, even if it was positive or merely curious, or and certainly wasn't prepared to handle negative comments or people not understanding or not wanting to understand your situation.
This was just a tiny part of a big, delicious interview where she opens up about her personal struggles, her life as an actor, Orange is the New Black, Jane the Virgin, and being an activist for immigration reform and Black Lives Matter. That is airing on my Really Famous podcast. You can just click on the link that I put in the description below. You will love it. If you like this video, please make sure you smash that like button and tap on subscribe for more real talks with your favorite celebrities. If you didn't like it, that's okay. Make sure you tell all your friends to check out Really Famous with Cara Mayer Robinson. They're the worst videos ever. You gotta check them out. Thanks for watching. See you soon.